Early in the morning, Adam entered the Busby home bearing an unseen burden of worry, unsaid guilt, and mounting anxiety that he was unable to acknowledge or flee. With 6 little daughters, each engrossed in her own world of toys, creativity, and the harmless mischief that only children could make, the house was a flurry of activity. Adam's imagination made everything appear far away, almost unreal, even though the sounds of laughing, squeals, and tiny feet reverberated through every nook and cranny, warming the surroundings. Danielle walked among the kids with grace, her hands always cleaning, her eyes watching, her thoughts balancing the delicate balancing act between child-rearing, domestic chores, and the subtle, persistent feeling that something about Adam's behavior had changed. She noticed the brief pauses, the momentary distractions in his gaze, and the agitated tapping of his phone. Even though the house exuded coziness, familiarity, and affection, an unseen shadow had started to form between them, a subtle tension that Danielle could sense but could not yet identify. Adam tried to become part of the family routine, bending to pick up a toy that had fallen, rerouting a little argument between 2 children, or assisting one of them in finding a lost doll, but his mind kept returning to Alena. Every text message and hidden alert on his phone pulled him away from the life he had created, and the people who relied on him, acting as a tug-of-war between exhilaration and guilt. From the other side of the room, Danielle watched him, her heart constricted with an inexplicable anxiety. She was aware of the tiny detachment, the hesitancy in his grins, and the minor diversion that tainted his typically focused attention. Her worries were momentarily allayed by the kids' laughter, but the uneasiness inside her increased with every second that passed. Adam was both comforted and startled by the kids' lively banter as breakfast drew near, their modest demands, laughing, and endless energy serving as a constant reminder of the lives he was jeopardizing with each secret he held. As she led them to the kitchen, Danielle skillfully planned their morning routine, but her mind kept going back to Adam. Something didn't feel right. She caught flashes of a man she knew in the past, but he was now broken, preoccupied, and aloof in ways she didn't quite get. She questioned what was bothering him, why he was distracted, and why, despite the family's joy, his thoughts seemed to be elsewhere. The girls' laughter spilled across the morning like sunlight as they ran toward the yard outside, a physical representation of normalcy and innocence. Adam briefly hovered behind, his hand grazing his phone as he read and erased texts, juggling the excitement of a covert connection with the nagging guilt that threatened to shake him. Every heartbeat served as a reminder that one incorrect step could upset his home's delicate balance. One wrong move could reveal the secret, and the storm Danielle had not yet realized may break at any time. Danielle smiled as she followed the kids outdoors, her mind alert and restless, her eyes searching the familiar faces. There was a faint but noticeable change in the mood, a calm tension that now ran through the center of the Busby household. The undercurrent of secret and deceit had already started to emerge in this morning of laughing, love, and regularity. It was an unseen force that held the potential to alter all the family had previously taken for granted. Even though the house seemed to be bustling as the day went on, there was a subtle sadness to every joke and minor argument, a tension that only Danielle and Adam could detect in their own unique ways. Unaware of the small cracks that were developing in the adult world around them, the kids wandered from room to room, absorbed in their own worlds. Adam knew that maintaining this equilibrium required meticulous precision and unwavering concentration, so his mind was always calculating, balancing, and reeling from the double life he was leading. Danielle, on the other hand, sensed the building tremor of uneasiness inside her, the kind of innate wisdom a mother possesses, a feeling that something was going to upend their family's meticulously maintained happiness. The house was still lively, full of color, sound, and movement, but beneath it all was a silent storm that was brewing and worming its way into the hearts and thoughts of those who had not yet anticipated it. By the time the sun rose higher in the sky, the routine rhythm of the day concealed a deeper tension, a quiet precursor to the impending upheaval that would permanently alter the Busby family's life. Days went by, and the routine of chores, laughing, and the boundless energy of 6 daughters persisted in the home, but behind the routine hum of family life, a subtle tension was developing. Danielle couldn't get rid of the impression that Adam had become aloof in ways that went beyond the weariness of everyday obligations. His attention was frequently diverted, his smiles were brief, and the faint hesitancy in his movements had started to bother her. She noticed how he secretly checked his phone, how his expressions would tighten for a moment before he tried to hide them, and the subtle but distinct sensation of distraction that hung over him like a shadow. Their children's warmth, which had previously served as a reassuring anchor, suddenly brought Adam's presence's dissonance to light. Their joyous shouts and laughter stood in sharp contrast to the storm that was subtly building beneath the surface. Little incidents that had previously appeared unimportant were relived in Danielle's mind. The extra hours Adam spent on calls, the brief texts he promptly erased, and his abrupt defensiveness when she inquired innocently about his day. Something was concealed from her, something that threatened to undermine the peace and trust she had always depended on. And this disquiet started to solidify into certainty. Now she studied Adam more intently, her intuition growing with each look, each gesture, each brief pause in speech. Danielle was left to battle the escalating storm inside of her alone as the kids, blissfully oblivious to the conflict between their parents, kept the house lively and noisy as they switched between different amusing activities. Adam, meanwhile, was under increasing pressure to keep things secret. His conversations with Alena had become more intense, their private exchanges now tinged with desire, haste, and the ever-present danger of being discovered. There was a sense of excitement and remorse in every message he sent or received, a reminder that one thoughtless act could ruin everything. The equilibrium that he had previously managed with relative ease now required constant attention, meticulous timing of words, gestures, and time to keep Danielle in the dark. Even when he was laughing and going about his daily business, the unseen threads that bound him to Alena drew him into a world that was different from his own, and that he was unable to completely inhabit without leaving signs of his deceit. Danielle gradually became more conscious, feeling almost instinctively that something important was concealed. She saw the little strain in Adam's physique, the anxious flicker in his eyes, and the way he appeared to retreat even during seemingly routine situations. Her instincts begged her to investigate further, to ask questions, to reveal what had hitherto been hidden. The more she saw, the more she noticed the patterns, the inexplicable absences, the quick looks, the subtle but constant indications that Adam was not giving them his whole attention. Every observation served as a thread, progressively exposing the web of secrets he was attempting to conceal. Although there was still an apparent sense of happiness in the home, the strain beneath the surface was intensifying daily. Once a sign of unadulterated innocence, the children's laughing now served as a subliminal warning of the danger, emphasizing the thin line separating the chaos that threatened to encroach on family life from the regularity of daily living. As the secret of Adam's connection with Alena started to surface from the shadows of concealment, Danielle sensed a calm storm brewing that was both inevitable and terrifying. The vitality of the household, the children's innocence, and the routines of everyday life all seemed to be on the verge of a revelation that might completely alter everything, and the foundation of trust she had built over years of marriage was now up against its first serious test. Danielle's thoughts had already started to put together the facts by the time the evening sun slanted through the windows, illuminating the rooms with long warm shadows. Adam's presence created tension that could no longer be disregarded or explained away. She felt the fragile balance of their family life about to collapse, and her heart wrenched with a mixture of fear, expectation, and determination. Adam knew that the day of reckoning was drawing near and that nothing would ever be the same again, and somewhere in a quiet corner of his mind, he felt the tightening hold of the secret he could no longer keep totally hidden. Every aspect of daily life was weighed down by the strain that had become evident in the Busby household. Danielle was no longer able to ignore the subtle clues that had been building for weeks. The unspoken gap that had gradually developed between them, Adam's diverted glances, the hidden phone messages, and the little defensiveness in his voice. Danielle discovered the indisputable evidence she had been dreading one peaceful afternoon when the kids were playing and the home was filled with their innocent chatter. A string of private and clear texts between Adam and Alena that exposed the covert life he had been leading. The harsh understanding that the man she had blindly trusted was leading a double life, and that it threatened to destroy everything they had created together, came as a shock to her like a physical blow. Emotions clashed in her mind, rage, shock, grief, and a searing sense of betrayal that pierced the comforting familiarity of home. Adam instantly felt the change in the atmosphere. Normally calm and caring, Danielle's face had hardened with a clarity that both alarmed and unnerved him. Suddenly, the house that had always been filled with routine and joy felt oppressive. Every sound, including the floorboards creaking and the kids playing, served as a reminder of the danger. Danielle's awareness was keen, accurate, and unrelenting. It was no longer hesitant. Moving through the rooms with a quiet focus, she kept a close eye on Adam, taking note of his every remark and pause. The children carried on with their games, unaware of the storm that was building in their parents' world. Their innocence now stood in sharp contrast to the tension that had developed. Adam could feel the walls enclosing him. His meticulous equilibrium, which he had preserved for so long, was disintegrating more quickly than he could manage. Every gesture was now burdened by the prospect of additional treachery, and every interaction held the possibility of discovery. He found it difficult to put it into words, to justify, to explain, but Danielle's sharp awareness made it impossible to avoid the reality. The trust between them all, the innumerable family moments of happiness, and the warmth of their shared past all appeared to be on the verge of disintegrating. Danielle's thoughts were racing with plans and choices, and she was thinking about the betrayal itself as well as the effects it would have on the kids, the family, and herself. The stress was nearly intolerable during the calm times when the kids were sleeping or playing quietly. Danielle sensed that she and Adam were becoming more and more separated. A gap full of lies, secrets, and unsaid hurt. But in the midst of the pain and rage there was also clarity, a resolve to face the issue, to demand the truth, and to shield her family from more lies. Adam, on the other hand, could no longer deny the enormity of what had come to light. The excitement of his covert relationship gave way to a chilly fear of confrontation, loss, and the now inevitable irreparable harm. Once a haven, the mansion was now the scene of a silent but fierce emotional conflict that would leave no heart unbroken. The Busby family went about their daily activities in an uncomfortable rhythm as dusk drew in, and the beautiful light of sunset streamed through the windows. Even though the kids were laughing, it suddenly seemed to be muffled by the parents' unsaid disagreement. While Adam struggled with shame, dread, and the awareness that nothing could stay the same, Danielle walked with quiet purpose, her thoughts managing the shock, rage, and loss. The foundation of their family had begun to show the first signs of weakness, and the storm that had been building covertly for weeks was now erupting in full force, threatening a confrontation that would test the very ties that had kept the Busby family together for so long. The days that followed were filled with strained looks, unsaid words, and the brittle remains of a broken trust in the Busby home. Danielle went about her daily activities with a calm, focused concentration, her thoughts going over every aspect of Adam's secret, every cryptic message, every evasive gesture, every instance that had suggested treachery. The children were blissfully oblivious, and the tempest raging around their parents was accompanied by the bittersweet sound of their laughing. Danielle felt the burden of duty bearing down on her, the need to face Adam while also shielding her girls from the emotional turmoil that threatened to overflow. Every encounter with him was tense. Adam's presence, which had previously been consoling and familiar, now bore a burden of anxiety, shame, and expectation. There was no irate yelling or instant accusations when Danielle finally faced Adam head-on. Instead, there was a calm, unwavering intensity that made denial impossible. The weight of the indisputable truth overcame Adam's efforts to rationalize, downplay, and explain. Danielle's understanding had solidified. The family's balance had been upset, the betrayal was genuine, and the deception was intentional. The intensity of the argument seemed to be absorbed by the walls of the house, and the air between them seemed to throb with repressed emotion. Adam sensed every pause as a verdict, every look as a gauge of the confidence he had betrayed. In the midst of this emotional storm, Danielle started thinking about the future. What actions would safeguard her kids, what choices would allow her to take back control of her life, and how to walk the tightrope between upholding family ties and dealing with the betrayal of trust. Danielle's resolve became stronger with every thought as the reality of divorce, separation, and the need to reorganize their life loomed like an unavoidable shadow. Adam, on the other hand, was burdened by the weight of the damage he had caused and the severe repercussions of his decisions. Fear, sorrow, and the realization that the stability he had taken for granted was now permanently changed had replaced the excitement of his secret existence. In sharp contrast to their parents' emotional turmoil, the children's innocence persisted throughout the home. As tension simmered beneath every word and action, Danielle and Adam managed to balance the rest of the day, speaking in measured tones and moving with purposeful serenity. In addition to creating a space for the truth, the encounter brought to light the brittleness of interpersonal bonds, the enduring nature of betrayed trust, and the difficulties that still lie ahead. It was dark in the Busby house, but the emotions raging inside had not calmed. While Adam faced the repercussions of his actions with such severity that no illusion or solace remained, Danielle's mind raced nonstop, preparing, calculating, and bracing for the decision she would have to make. Despite being physically united, the family now lived in a place split by secrets and revelation. The first real cracks in a life that had been thought to be solid were now exposed, and the future was unclear, unstable, and irreparably altered. Following days of conflict, tension, and sleepless nights, Danielle made a choice that would alter their family's course for all time. She made the decision to put her 6 girls' welfare and security first, understanding that a home where there was honesty, clarity, and safety was far more vital than preserving the appearance of a flawless marriage. Adam was forced to face the truth that his acts had shattered trust and changed lives in ways that could not be reversed. He could no longer hide behind defenses, explanations, or brief moments of charm. Danielle faced the future with a combination of determination, sorrow, and cautious optimism. She knew that it would need tough talks, court rulings, and rearranging family life, but it also presented an opportunity to start again on solid ground. A sense of rhythm and normalcy gradually returned to the house, which had before been tense and quiet. Danielle was resolute in her management of the home, juggling her own emotional healing with her children's activities, school, and routines. Despite his intense regret, Adam acknowledged that the adjustments were necessary and started to think back on his decisions. His guilt was lessened by the knowledge that his cooperation, honesty, and respect for Danielle's boundaries were now essential to his family's well. Unaware of the complexities of adult choices, the kids gradually adjusted to the little changes in family relations, their laughter and enthusiasm providing solace and continuity in the middle of the chaos. Despite the lingering shadow of betrayal, Danielle found strength in her resilience and clarity. She started to reconstruct her life every day, one that prioritized her girls' stability and happiness, and gave her the opportunity to regain her serenity, dignity, and control. Adam was a continual reminder of the brittleness of trust and the price of dishonesty. His presence in this new chapter was circumspect, measured, and characterized by accountability. Once shattered by secret, the Busby family now started a lengthy, methodical healing process, forming new norms of integrity and decency, and learning that families can persevere, change, and develop even after betrayal. By the time the following months passed, the sounds of 6 daughters playing filled the house once more, their purity serving as a ray of optimism and continuity. Danielle moved forward with a vision of a future formed by truth, resiliency, and steadfast dedication to her children, bearing the lessons of pain and betrayal with quiet courage. Adam pursued the precarious path of redemption, knowing that his decisions were irrevocable, and that trust and forgiveness must be won via constant responsibility and action. Together, the family began a new chapter that was characterized by clarity, honesty, and the unwavering love between a mother and her children rather than deception or secrecy. This demonstrated that life and hope could return to a home, even in the face of the most severe betrayals.